in Seattle, age 4. Did it all begin there?
A story that my parents regale me with to this day, that we were driving to Seattle and across the Canadian border. They ask you at the border, do you have any fruits or weapons? And apparently I said, we have a banana and we're not afraid to use it. Which apparently elicited a huge laugh coming from a 4-year-old child. But maybe that was the first joke I ever told.
And that is how many people learned comedian Seth Rogen told his first joke at age 4. We didn't learn it from one of the late night shows, which have led our pop culture discourse for decades, but rather from an alternative homemade source for exhaustive cultural interviews, a quirky Canadian savant named Nardwuar, who established himself as a unique interviewer with legends from James Brown to Cardi B to Kurt Cobain to Harry Styles. All the more impressive that he's done this without the backing of any large media company, corporation, or formal press pass. Nardwuar just does the work, posts the interviews online, and he's found that really great interviews about music and culture tend to bring on more interviews. Plus, he has a special trick.
Did you also have restaurants too, like the Golden Skillet?
Well, no. Well, at least you close Gold Platter. How'd you learn the word skillet? Where you learn that from?
You've done your research, man. I like this.
We are Ed Sheeran. We have to. Travis, what exactly is going on in this photo right here?
Holy
Do you still like salt and vinegar chips?
Yo, this guy's crazy. How you know that, man?
You know the drummer for Pansy Division is from Aberdeen, Kurt?
No, I didn't know that.
You know, Smells Like Queen Spirit?
Yeah, I had no idea.
No trip to Vancouver is complete without talking to you, so I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you, Mike Moore.
This is the best interview I've ever done, by the way, in my entire life.
Drake basically saying that's the best he ever had. Best he ever had. Now, Nardwuar's trick or skill is an exhaustive, sometimes mysterious research process where he uncovers and asks about things that stars have never been asked about, which is unusual for people who've lived in the public eye. As you can see on your screen right now, it even freaks some people out. There are entire compilation videos of just showing different artists going into what you might call Nardwuar shock as they realize he knows something that they thought nobody knows or they didn't even know they knew, which brings us to my Nardwuar moment, which I want to share with you. He usually focuses on artists. So it was a change when he recently asked me for an interview, and I was completely psyched to do it. I've watched this guy and these interviews for years, and I do know a little bit about his research approach, but I didn't know what he would actually bring up or how it would feel.
Let's head to Kelly Montague Day.
Man, all right. See, I've seen you do this to other people, but having it done to yourself is a whole different energy. Shout out to Kelly Montague, one of my best friends from high school who I'm still friends with. Talked to him this week. And Kelly Montague Day was something we created. You know how you have some friends who are just extra? He was extra. We all loved him. And so at my high school, you know, they'd have like 70s Day was a thing, and there were dress-up days, but we just made it up. Like it wasn't a real thing, where we all just dressed up like him one day. He didn't know, and he showed up, and everyone was walking around dressed like him, and then they put it in the yearbook because you know how you can have an idea that's not real, but then it becomes real? Well, once it was in the yearbook, it was like maybe there is Kelly Montague Day.
What can you say about you and your friends?
Yo, all right, you have the picture. All right, so I'll tell you right here. All right, this is Kelly Montague on Kelly Montague Day. Kelly, this was the style he rocked. So he would always have this kind of tank top, backpack, usually had the old school headphones.
There it is. That's the real picture. Shout out to Kelly Montague Day. Shout out to Kelly. And to Garfield High School in Seattle. In fact, our alma mater is known for some of its alumni like Jimi Hendrix and Quincy Jones. This weekend, Garfield is actually celebrating its centennial in Seattle. So happy 100th birthday to that great public high school, and shout out to all the Bulldogs. As we used to say back in the day, any dogs in the house, true dogs. I realize, unlike some lyrics, that's not a reference for everybody out there, but it was something we said. Now, Nardwuar also asked me about another topic that I'd never been asked before in this quick moment touching on conservative media.
Who is the Fox version of you, Ari?
Ooh. No disrespect, but I don't think they have one.
Boom!
Honest answer. Now, there's a classic lyric that says, people never get the flowers when they can still smell them. If you admire somebody, better go ahead and tell them. And that is certainly true if you have the chance to give someone some of their flowers in person. I've spent so many hours watching Nardwuar's work over my life. I never knew I'd get to go to Canada to meet him, let alone be interviewed. He really honed his craft into something special that draws out the humanity of individuals in new ways. And I happen to think it really enriches the culture, for real. So he deserves this shout out and his flowers. And here is what I told him kind of impromptu during that conversation, which I wanted to share with you to air on the beat so you hear it too.
Because you're connecting with artists and letting them just sort of understand where they came from and their roots in ways that they're not always thinking about, I think you get something out of them as someone who also tries to interview artists sometimes that's different and deeper. And it's your own thing. And for example, the bigger an artist gets, the more that everyone knows about their recent stuff. And then their recent famous or successful part of them takes up more and more psychic space. Sinatra, 10 years into being Sinatra, right, is a long ways away from the person he was. And we're all human, so we all have multiple dimensions. And so when people like the Kendrick interview you did, which still was when he was young, but you go back to things with him, and you can see him reaching back. So now he's not in the psychic space of the recent thing. When you get to that place with people, like when, even with Seth Rogen, one of his first jokes when he was 4 years old, crossing the border, we have a banana and we're not afraid to use it. You're bringing him back to that place in a way that he may not have even been able to experience at his adult life. That's wild. So I think that's special. So then when I saw the full interviews, I was like, oh, this is dope. And as someone who does interviews, I'm not like, oh, I'm just going to copy that, right? Like, you do your thing. So that's you, the way you do it. Do.
Thanks so much for the kind words. I really appreciate that, especially fitting in do in there.
You got to figure and fit in the doot. That is something he often says. Doot, his catchphrase. And so, you know, sometimes at the end of the hour, we plug our digital stuff, and we can still do that. But before we do that, let me just say you can find all of Nardwuar's interviews from James Brown to Kurt Cobain to Michael Moore we showed you when he got into a little bit of politics in Vancouver at Nardwuar Serviette on YouTube. So we've made this little graphic here, Nardwuar Serviette, or you can just type Nardwuar into YouTube.